Hi there, welcome or welcome back to the Books for Us. Today I'm running you through all the books that I read in the month of May. And the first one was The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. The Measure is about how one morning everyone finds a box in front of their door, and inside the box is a piece of string. And depending on the length of the piece of string, you know how long you will live. Now, how these boxes appeared doesn't really get explained in the book. There are theories, but they are never gone into, really. It's just all about the thought process of finding such a box in front of your door and then deciding what to do. Do you look inside the box or don't you? Because of the time zones on Earth, and social media and everything, of course, most of the people on Earth were pre-warned before they opened their front door that there would be a box there with this piece of string in it. And then you get this thought process, first of all, of would I open the box? Would I look inside and see if I have a long life or a short life? And then we get all the other thought processes that come with this. For example, what would you do if you found out that you have a short string? What if you have a long string? How would you arrange your life? But also the people around you, how will they start interacting with you if they know that your life is short or that you have a long life? How will it affect your relationships? And also on different levels, like what would the economy look like if they would know which people have short lives and which people have long lives. Think about things like insurance, for example. And I very much enjoyed these thought processes. It was the most fun thing about this book, actually, because in this book we are following 8 different characters. And the reason we are following them is so we get into these different kinds of situations and we get to think along with them, like what would you do in that kind of situation. But because of that, they all felt sort of like case studies to me, and all the scenes that were supposed to be more emotional really felt flat for me, because I wasn't really believing in these characters. They all just felt like actual case studies to me. So I enjoyed reading this, it was fun, but it definitely wasn't the best thing that I've ever read, or even read in May. Next I read The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Now this is a children's book, but I haven't read it yet because, well, it wasn't translated in Dutch over here when I was young, at least. By now it probably is. But The Giving Tree is about this boy and this tree, and they love each other a lot and they play together, they play games together. But then the boy starts growing up and he starts making bigger and bigger demands of this tree. And this tree just wants to see the boy happy, so she keeps giving to the boy. I actually like this book, first of all, because of the drawings. I love the style of Silverstein. It's very enjoyable to watch. Then second of all, I do like the comparison to parenthood and how you give to your children, because you want them to be happy and you want them to grow up happy. However, I do hope that children, when they read this, can see the message that is behind the story, because if you look at this just the way it is, superficially, then it's about this really annoying little git who is very spoiled and who just gets everything that he wants. And you have to look past that, and I think it is really intended to make children feel like this is not really fair. And maybe, hopefully, they recognize that in situations that they are in. Next I read Vegetarian by Han Kang. This one is about a woman and she has this dream, and after the dream she decides to become a vegetarian. But this apparently is very strange to her husband and her family, and they try to convince her to eat meat and actually start sort of forcing her to eat meat, because she is not this good, obedient housewife anymore now. It's a very strange book. A lot of other things happen in here that I cannot tell because they would definitely spoil the book. But it's really weird, and I didn't like the treatment of women in here, or how women are depicted in here. But it is very intense. It has this very intense imagery, and I need you to be prepared for that because I wasn't prepared for that. I would never read this book again. However, I am, well, not glad, but I'm okay with having read this, because for what it is trying to do, it is doing it really well. Then I read A Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman. This is something very different. I absolutely love this book. This is a wonderful book. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. It is about a man called Ove, and he lives on his own. He is this older man. He is a bit, he is kind of strict and annoying, but you start finding out why that is, and he is harsh towards his neighbors and very unfriendly, but well, you have to read it and Ove will grow on you, I can promise you that. Yeah, I very much enjoyed this book, and I love how Frederick Bachman never writes like, oh, Ove is like this. He never does that. He never describes what they are supposed to be like, but he just shows what the characters are like through their actions and through their words and everything that they do, and the intention or the feeling behind it. And yeah, it's wonderful to read. Then there was Howard's End by E.M. Forster. This one is about two sisters and a brother, but you can forget about the brother. Mainly about two sisters, and they meet this richer family, and then they have some connections with different people of this richer family, but they aren't all really likable people. They also get to meet this poor person, poor, more poor, Mordor, no, less wealthy person. And they try to help this person out because they are actually quite cultured and they want to help people, but they don't really know how to go about this in the correct way because they have no experience being poor themselves. Now, I have to be honest, I found this book quite boring actually. It took me a long time to get through this. I think that there was a lot of blah blah in between that really wasn't interesting to me. There are these pages of description about this opera that they are watching and things like that, but it wasn't really interesting me. I also didn't like the characters. There is a lot that I guess has to do with the time period, the early 1900s, and how women were treated then, or how they were supposed to behave or things like that. And it just didn't work for me, and I found it very hard to get through. And then finally, in the last 60 pages or something, all the action actually happens, which then was quite interesting. But you don't want to read 300 pages and drag through them just to read 60 good pages, right? Now, I don't really know how to explain how I ended up here because I really wanted to like this book. It is partly, but in a small part, about another beautiful home in the country, in the English country, which I normally really like. The language is pretty good actually. The writing is alright, which I should like also. And I think maybe I just read this at the wrong moment in my life. I was really busy, and this is not a kind of book that you should read when you have 10 minutes to spare or 15 minutes to spare. This is a book that you should read during summer days when you have 8 hours of uninterrupted reading time, and you can get really immersed in this book. So maybe that's the reason why I ended up not liking it. So I'm sorry to any fans out there. Now, the last book I read was Twisted Love by Anna Wong. I read this because my students kept begging me to read this. I have 16 or 17-year-old girls in my class who kept telling me that this is their favorite book and they wanted me to read it, so I finally did, but I was afraid to read it, and well, my suspicions only got confirmed. So yeah, this book is about Alex Volkov, and Alex Volkov sold his first software thingy when he was 14 years old and made his first million then. And now he's like 26 or something, and he has this global real estate firm and is a billionaire because of this. He is also a genius with an IQ of 160. Of course, he graduated in like record time. And he is also very, very, very hot, and he does Krav Maga. But when he was young, he went through this traumatic experience, and now he doesn't show any emotion anymore. He is like ice, he is this robot. And now, some way or another, he has to take care of the sister of his best friend, Ava. And Ava is this bubbly personality. She is sunshine, she is rainbows, and oh my, would she be able to melt his icy heart? Who knows? So yeah, my problems are not only with the plot of this book being totally obvious, but very much so with the sex scenes that are in this book. This book is sold as a young adult, and I think that if you are at a certain age, that you can definitely read sex scenes in young adult books. However, the scenes in this book are very degrading. These are about calling your significant other slut and things like that in a bedroom, and making them do things that are more or less humiliating. And I think that these things could be explored, but not in young adults necessarily. Of course, when you're older, sex to each his own. But I think that for young girls who do not have any sexual experience yet, it might have been a bit nicer, I think, or a bit more as an example of what a good relationship might look like. So yes, I have issues with this book. Now, this is the first one in a series, and I actually told my students how I felt about this, honestly. However, my students tell me that this is part of a series, and that the next book is quite different, so a different type of relationship, and that it is better than this one, which, well, you know, is not a high mark. But I don't know if I should give it a try, because I really don't feel like it after this book to read another one of these. But I sort of feel like I should, to like calm my mental state in the hopes that it is actually better and it is kinder than this one is. Alright, that's everything I read in May. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did so, give it a like, comment, or subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye!